In the last lecture, we left off displaying all of our products on our admin dashboard. Over here, you see that we are displaying all of our items, all right? So we're able to create the item and then it will display here. You will also see that we have two buttons here. We have the edit button and a delete button. None of them work. And that's actually what I'm going to work on in this tutorial, is that once the user I'm going to work on the delete. So once the user clicks on the delete, it should delete this item from the database. But in addition to that, it's going to delete the image that's stored on our server file system. Now, when we were creating our product some few videos back, remember that I did not store the image onto the database. I said that was considered bad practice because it bloats up the database. It's just not, it's considered bad practice. So instead what I did was I stored the file, the image file name onto the database. All right. So that way, whenever we wanted to delete a product later on, we have a reference to it. All right. So I did not add the image onto the database, just the file name. So that and the image is stored here. All right, it was stored under a folder called uploads right here on the back end. All right, this is storing our image. So this is going to be a two-step process. All right, we have to delete the image from the data, or delete the product from the database, and delete the image from our file system. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get started with this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a constant. So let's go to our client. And right over here, product constants. I'm going to copy this right here, paste, and I'm going to rename this and call this delete product. Oh. There you go. So I'm going to mark this off, and I'm going to close this so we can have more space. All right, next step is to work on the reducer. So let's go ahead and go to the product reducer. Let's go ahead and add our constant, delete product. And right over here, we'll set up our case and say delete product. We're going to do a return products, and then I'm going to do a state dot products dot filter. All right, and the state dot products is referring to this right here, and we're going to perform a filter because we're going to filter whatever, as we're looping through these products here. If an ID from here, from each of these products, if the ID matches the ID that we're getting as a payload, then we're going to filter it out. We're going to remove it. All right. So the way we're going to do that is here. So we're going to, for each product, which we're going to call it P, as long as the P dot underscore ID is not equal to the action dot payload dot underscore ID, just like this. All right, so it's going to filter out the ID if it's exactly the same as the action payload that's coming from the backend. All right, so we're going to mark this off. All right, next step is the action. Let's go ahead and build our action. I'm going to close this reducer up. Let's go to product actions. All right, so here we go. Same thing. We're going to bring in our constant. Delete product. Right over here, delete product, and this action function is going to take in an argument. It's going to get the product ID as the argument, because we're going to have to send this to the backend, and when we make our request to the database needs to know exactly what item we want to delete. Therefore, we need the product ID. All right. And that's very typical with CRUD. When you perform a delete, an update, and like and you're reading one file, all right, you typically want to add the ID of that specific item you're referring to. Okay, so over here we're going to do a start loading, and then the Axios request is going to be Axios, and then there's going to be a delete HTTP request. And this, we're going to do some here, we're going to do some ES6 template strings, because we're going to add some JavaScript here to add our product ID. All right, as a parameter, we're sending this to the backend. Okay, so there you go. So we're going to get a response, and it's going to stop loading, and then we're going to do a dispatch here, which we're going to do delete product, and then the payload is going to be response data, and for the catch, rename this, going to be delete product, and then let's see, yep, everything else stays the same. Okay, so action's done. Next step is we're going to add our action onto our button, and that is located, if we go to our components, is our card. All right, we made use of Bootstrap to create our card. All right, so let's start off over here at the very top and import what we need. I'm going to create a comment for Redux. I'm going to say import use dispatch from React Redux, and then we're also going to import our action function, which we called it delete product from, we got to go back one directory, we got to go Redux, go to actions, and then product actions. Next here, we're going to have to change this here, because we're going to use some JavaScript now. So let's see here. All right, so let's do like this. And I'm going to do return. All right, and save. So it can reformat. All right, so over here, I'm going to create a variable called dispatch. All right, so now we can use dispatch, and we are going to our button now over here, and we are going to add an on-click event listener onto the button. And we are going to fire dispatch and delete product and pass as an argument product._ID. And remember, we have access to product here because the card over here is getting past product. All right, so we have access to the product. So we're passing this as an argument here to our action function and passing the specific ID to the product. All right, so that should be it for that. All right, next step. Now, at this point, we're going to move on to the backend. All right, we're going to start off with the backend route. So let's go ahead and collapse our client folder and go to the route for product. And I'm going to copy this here, paste below, and I'm going to change this from get to a delete. And this is going to take, we're getting a parameter from the front end, and I'm going to call this product.id. And for the middleware, I'm going to add authenticate JWT. So user must be authenticated. All right, and then the controller, we're going to call it delete. All right, And note that this right here, we can call it, you can call it whatever name you want, okay? In my case, I called it product ID, but you can call it whatever you want. So long as just make sure that when you get to the controller that you reference it, that is you name it exactly as it is over here. Otherwise, you're gonna get an error, all right? That's the only thing, and I'll show you later on, well, shortly when we get to the controller what I mean. All right, so I'm calling it product ID here. All right, so next step is, let's see. All right, I don't need this card now anymore. Let's go here, so add backend route. All right, next step is add backend controller. So let's go to the controller, the product, and we called it delete. Okay, and I will delete everything here and make some changes over here. I'm going to say product controller delete error. All right, just like that. All right, so the first thing we're going to need to do is, again, we're going to have to extract currently the request object. Remember, the controller has access to the request. The request has access to an object called params, and params has properties, has access to the parameters that we pass in from the front end. Okay, and that is how we're gonna grab our product ID. And the way we're gonna do that is like this: do const product ID equals request params and then product ID. Now remember, I said not too long ago that this here I called product ID. This is gonna have to match with what I called it in our routes. Right over here, the colon and then product ID. So if I call this just ID over here, then in the controller I would do request params and then ID. All right, so just make sure those match. All right, so now at this point I should have my parameter that's past the product ID stored here. All right, next step is let's start making our database request query. So we're going to do const, I'm going to call it deleted product equals await product find by ID and delete, and then I'm going to pass in the product ID. All right, this is pretty much self-explanatory. Look at that. Mongoose makes it so simple. It's very explicit in what it's doing. Find by ID and delete. So we're passing that ID as an argument and it's deleting find by ID and delete. All right, and at that point, this deleted product variable now has the document of the item that was deleted on the database. All right. All right, so that's step number one. So this right here takes care of deleting the item from the database. But remember, this is a two-step process. We also have to delete the image that's connected to that item as well from our file system, from this uploads folder here. All right, and the way we're gonna do that is Node.js has this handy thing called a file system. All right, and it's built in. It's like FS, and we don't have to install anything. It's built in as long as you're making use of Node.js, and we do. So I can just do like this: require FS, and just like this. All right, so now I can make use of doing things in my file system. All right. All right, so let's go back down here. The way we're going to do this is we are going to do file system or fs dot unlink, and this is going to take two arguments. The first argument is going to be the path to which this image is going to be located, and then the second one is the handler or the callback to handle an error, an exception, an error if we get one. All right. So here to start off, we're going to do ES6 backticks or template strings because we're going to use some JavaScript. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to point to my uploads folder, because that's where all the images are stored. And then what's the specific image that we need to unlink or to delete from the file system? Well, we can go over here. Remember, deleted product is document that was deleted, so we can use that. So we can say document product dot file name. All right, that was the file name. All right, so the file name that was stored in database also matches the file name that's stored here on our server file system. All right, so that's exactly what we want to delete. And then for this right here, we're gonna get an error. If we get one, it's gonna get an error passed to it, and we're gonna do if error throw error. And then secondly, I want to do a console log. If everything goes well, I'm gonna say image successfully deleted from file system. And then I'll do document product dot file name, just like so. Okay, there you go. So this right here takes care of removing the image from our server file system. All right, next thing, lastly, we want to send as a response, we want to send our the document of our deleted product. All right, because Redux is going to make use of it, is going to delete it from the Redux state. We need that. All right, there we go. So add backend controller, yes, we did that. And unlink image from file system, we did that. All right, so that should be it. I guess it's testing time, right? All right, so let's go ahead and test this thing out. All right, yes. All right, so let's see what we got here. So currently we have, all right, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna close this up. I'm gonna start off with this this last item here at the very bottom, this pen and pasta. So what I'm gonna do, let me refresh this too, just so we don't have any issues. All right, so pen and pasta, right? I'm gonna look into my database. Let's see, and look for pen and pasta. All right, that's this last document here. Now the file name, the last four is 3979.jpg, right? 3979, all right? So that is the file name, all right? 3979. And if I look into our server backend in the uploads folder, it was 3979, right? Okay, so that's this last file right here in the uploads folder. That's this right here. All right. The reason why I wanted to check this is because, again, when we do this, and we press that delete button, this should be gone, and this document here should be gone as well from the database. All right. So let's go ahead and do our test. Oh, let me go back. All right, you guys ready? Here we go. Delete. Oh. All right. What happened there? All right, let's go again. Delete. Okay, what happened? Internal request API. Please try again later. Okay. What went wrong there? It's not document product is not defined. What? 58. 68. All right, so let's see, document product. Oh, delete. Okay, yeah. That was a mistake. All right, so this is called deleted product, right? For some reason I said the document product here. So this is supposed to be deleted product. All right, deleted product. And I did the same thing here. So rename that, say deleted product dot file name. All right, I'm gonna save that. And we're gonna give it another shot. All right, let's just make sure. Yes, it's still there, 39.79, right? And that's for this thing right here that we're trying to delete. All right, let me go ahead and close this up, refresh, fingers crossed. Oh, all right, well, it already did that for us. Okay, well, let's do it again. All right, so here's pasta parmesan. Actually, let me just make sure. All right, so pasta parmesan, that's right here, pasta parmesan. The last four, 63.57, 63.57. Right here, 63.57, right? That should be gone. All right, so 63.57, remember that. All right, so let's go give that a try. Delete, you see it's deleted from here, deleted from the screen. 63.67. Let's go check here in our uploads. You see 63.67 is gone. So it's gone from our server file system. That's good. And finally our database, make sure that's it's removed from there. I gotta refresh. And there you go. It's gone from here as well. All right, there you go. We got 7 items here. And if we go here, 7 items here too. Let's delete the pasta salad. Delete, it's gone. See? It's gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go. All right. Well, we still have an extra image of it. That's because there was an error from earlier, but it's working. There you go. So I can go ahead and delete another one. Cheese pizza, lasagna. And there you go, one by one, these are being deleted. And our database, if I refresh, now we only have 4 items. All right, guys, so everything worked out well. All right, so we took care of the deleting functionality. So the next step, I guess, would have to be our editing. All right, we're gonna be able to edit. See you in the next video.